final land. And I got to ask you here, Shaliber, since we got you on the desk, do you think that they're going to be prioritizing Crimson at all here in these picks and bans? Do you think that's something they might want to look at?
I don't think so. I think that they would want to prioritize either inbounds gods or Keeg's mate, because Keeg's is straight up just their carry, and he has a mean AMC, a mean Ho Yi. They want to pick his god at the top, and I think that the reason why they would maybe want to get inbounds god is because he hasn't shown much so far. All I've seen him play really is Geb, Ganesha, Terra when Terra was OP, you know?
I thought on the flip side, though, for Myth, it was Crimson only playing Thoth. So I thought that CAZ would use this opportunity now to ban it away really early. But there's still that secondary ban phase. If Myth doesn't elect it, then it's more than likely CAZ will probably target out Crimson after the fact.
I agree. Yeah, if they don't pick Crimson's god top 3, he will probably, you know, they'll ban those gods. I don't think he'll get banned out, though. I think his god pool is big enough. Even if he didn't show it in the split, I've scrimmed them a few times, and he definitely plays more gods than those.
Sure, well then there you go. I mean, Crimson able to show up on some other gods here, so maybe not have to worry too much about it. Muzen Cobb, though, is that first pick for CAZ. And I know you were talking about just how well Keegs can play it, so not just getting a strong god, but pulling it away from Keegs.
So Myth selecting the Soul here, do you expect this to go in the hands of Crimson or Keegs mate?
It's definitely Crimson. It's definitely Crimson. And, dude, I don't know why, but I feel like Keegs is going to pick something weird, because when I was on a team with him, he would always want me to play Soul in mid so he could just play something completely random in duo lane.
But with
like an
Fafnir,
assassin.
With a Fafnir, though, that's going to basically be huge synergy in objectives around that Gold Fury between both physical and magical hunter.
Yeah. I was actually surprised by the Fafnir pick. I could have, like, I swear I thought he was going to pick Ganesha.
He ends up prioritizing that Fafnir pick. Kuzenbo and Raijin were the lock-ins for CAZ. So as we heard a little bit from Alexim there in that interview, you know, prioritizing that Kuzenbo pick, and then Hachiman locked in for Myth. So getting to see a lot here of the Samurai.
That's surprising because, Shaliber, you were saying how it was going to be AMC and Ho Yi prioritized. What is it about that Hachiman that brings that Ho Yi doesn't really have?
Honestly, I don't know, because we haven't been scrimming them since we're in the same group as them. So he's definitely been practicing that, you know, in the off season in preparation for lab.
Without revealing your strategies, who have you been scrimming against?
We scrimmed Obey a little bit, but for the past, I'd say, week and a half, we've been scrimming exclusively SB.
Okay.
Myth, they ban away Odin as well as Ganesh, and then over on the other side, CAZ taking away Athena and a Kabrakan. So they still think, even with Fafnir on the board, that Myth's going to be looking to go a little tankier here too, so maybe trying to limit some more options there for him, totally.
And considering that a lot of these teams, in Super Regionals at least, have been bringing out a lot of strategies of double Guardian, triple Guardian, a lot of backline Hunter late games, it's not a bad idea considering that Kabrakan can really lock you down. And when you're playing a Muzen Cobb, you don't have any escaped, you're relying on your relics to be up in team fights. If they're not up, you're not fighting, and if you don't have the necessary peels, your positioning has to be very careful. So CAZ eliminating some of those backline threats.
Serket is the lock-in there for Myth and Shaliber.
I love that.
Yeah, talk to me about this Serket pick.
That fits Jumpa's playstyle. If you watch Jumpa, every fight he will always flank around. If you're doing a Gold Fury fight, he's going to be going behind the Gold Fury to try and hit the mage or the ADC in the back. That's how he plays, and Serket's perfect for that.
So he's very opportunistic and methodical about his positioning here.
Yeah, he's not a frontliner. He straight up plays like an assassin. The way, you know, assassins are meant to be played, just go behind people.
And I imagine as a mid, you love that, right? When like the Serket or one of the assassins are coming up behind you in a fight. You know?
No. That's how they split with us. That's how they split with us. He came behind, when Keegs was on my team, he came behind Keegs on Nemesis and one-shot him from behind, and there was nothing we could do.
And they have the potential to do that. CAZ wanted to get a little bit of that themselves with the Susano pick and then Terra as well. So they actually have that double Guardian you were talking a little bit about there, Toli, over there for CAZ, as Myth locks in Osiris.
Osiris is going to be very difficult to gank. It's going to put Deli in a good situation, considering that Mr. Turtle is going to be playing this Kuzenbo solo, which is not a very common occurrance.
No, we don't get to see a whole lot of that, but that's something that we know they'd like to do. And as they said, I mean, they're really confident with that Kuzenbo pick. It's something that they're comfortable on, but now that we're seeing both these rosters here, I mean, you got any thoughts here for me, Shaliber, on these rosters now they're finalized out?
Honestly, I think Myth drafted better. I think that the Kuzenbo solo was not the pick. And honestly, I don't even like Terra anymore. I don't think Terra's worth like being a top support right now. I don't think she's a top support. I think that they should have picked anything besides that.
So I think that Myth has a more safe and standard composition that you would normally see time in and time out. But CAZ's team comp in team fights can easily disrupt Jumpa from getting into that backline. So I think the key focus point for CAZ in order to find the win is to not allow Jumpa any sort of kill opportunities, and they should win with the Moose and Cobb late game.
All right, well, y'all are my analysts here, so I'm going to ask, I mean, who you got in this game? Totally, who you think, CAZ or Myth?
I think Myth is going to carry in the early to mid game.
Okay, Shalbert.
I think that Myth is going to, I think there's going to be a stop. I think Myth is going to stop them.
All right, well, there you go. On the desk here, we got it all Myth. Let's get over to the casters to see what happens.
Thank you so much, John, for handing it over here. I'm Gormizer, joined now by Aggro, and it's looking like an interesting game.
Yeah, Myth, that's basically everything Myth wants. I completely agree with Shalabra on the desk. I mean, Serket fits Jumpa's playstyle beautifully. If Delny is going to be playing a warrior instead of a guardian, things like Osiris fit very well with his playstyle. And Keegs has been working on that Hachiman. I mean, he was playing it yesterday. He really likes this pick, and it fits his playstyle very well because it allows him to play aggressive in lane. It allows him to play aggressive in the team fights. And Keegs, as they mentioned on the desk, is the star player of this roster, and Atonement's going to have his hands full there.
And we've seen a lot for Myth and a lot of flexibility through their weeks of console league play that comes through where sometimes Keeg doesn't need to be there for the fight. He doesn't have to be in the fight to let the team show their prowess. And sometimes he rotates over and he's in your backline and all of a sudden you don't know what exactly you're going to be going up against. And the Hachiman, something that you don't have quite as much experience against, might give him just a small leg up there. On the other side, the Amus and Cobb taken more than likely away from him as well as just a strong pick.
Plus, Atonement is one of the strongest players on this CAZ roster. You want to give your star player a chance to shine in the matchup. I mean, ADC versus ADC is the spot to watch here for CAZ. As they mentioned on the desk, they had some issues bringing their players over, and so they've got a couple subs. That puts even more pressure on Atonement, on Alexum, and on Mr. Turtle, the three regular players for CAZ Esports, to try and make a big showing here at LAN.
A couple of different starts coming out. We can already see Atonement, Alexum actually going in, taking away the red buff from Myth. On the other side, though, purple and red looking to be taken away by Myth Gaming as they just get that early pressure on the duo side.
So it's just a matter of where Atonement and Alexum are going to go from here. Raijin, Amus, and Cobb, really, really tough to deal with in the early game. No way you're going to outclear them. But as you touched on, Inbound and Keegs mate, they get 2 buffs for their invade, where CAZ only gets 1. Now, that is going to set Crimson a little bit behind, but it's all in the name of getting Keegs mate ahead. Now he's going to be able to back up, get this purple buff. That's 3 buffs total that that Keegs mate is going to have underneath his belt, compared to only 1 for Atonement.
Looking, I mean, just early aggression all around. Actually, Delny and Judgment going to be going in and trying to do whatever they can. Jumpa getting rarely low here, but he's going to be able to dash away, jump over the wall, and just showcasing the mobility that you can get out of the Serket.
Looks like they were able to seal away that speed buff as well. Susano is going to have a tough time trying to compete here. He's going to walk in and get his purification beads forced out. Not the wisest decision there to walk in and just eat that cooldown for free. Now he's going to be very vulnerable as soon as Jumpa hits level 5, because Jumpa went for Blink instead of Purification Beads. Not too worried about the CC possibilities coming out of CAZ's roster.
Potentially an early rotation, but it looks like this is mainly to secure that blue buff, especially when your solo lane has lost this much pressure. Mr. Turtle just not doing so great on the Kuzenbo in comparison to having to deal with this Osiris with that Serket.
Well, that's what you expect. It's a Guardian up against a really high-pressure warrior at that, so you don't expect Mr. Turtle to get the pressure over here, or even to get that blue buff farm by himself without something like a Hand of the Gods. So I like the idea to rotate over by Atonement, and now he needs to come over and join the duo lane, which is exactly where he's heading, pick up the back camps along the way. Smart choice by him.
Jumpa just hanging around. I don't think he's going to fully be able to pull Mr. Turtle. I think they expect the Serket to be hanging around over here. But the thing that's catching my eye right now is that Delny has opted in for that horrific emblem, specifically to get that little bit of early pressure as well if you do look for that engagement.
And Mr. Turtle didn't go for a sprint. If you have a feeling that the enemy solo laner might be going for a horrific emblem, getting sprint early is really important. Even if they don't end up getting horrific emblem, sprint is a really, really strong relic overall that I think would have proved more beneficial here to Mr. Turtle, who needs to be careful because Jumpa's 5.
Going to be going in. The taunt is going to be good. He's going to go ahead and throw down the ult to get that extra little bit of pressure, but push under the tower is Jumpa right now. Going to be able to walk away, both of them with their lives, but showing that Myth are definitely looking for that pressure on the solo.
Well, the shell ends up paying off there for Mr. Turtle without going for the sprint. Delny really passive there. Doesn't commit the ultimate, doesn't commit the horrific emblem, doesn't really commit anything. I think that could have been first blood for Myth if Delny and Jumpa are working together a little bit better.
Yeah, still able to fight, able to get away, I guess, ultimately keeping himself safe for the long run, but not able to get that early pressure, that early gold advantage as well when you find that kill. So kind of stuck in an interesting position as the team's looking to kind of rotate over. Alexum gets low, has enough mana to get away, and sitting with him is going to be inbound, which I think is interesting. He's on this Fafnir, which we've seen him have large impact on. Geb, what do you think the Fafnir's bringing in?
It works so well with Hachiman, who already has an attack speed steroid, and with the Soul, where that attack speed is really valuable.
Coming in, Atonement actually going to be taking some damage right now. Keeks make perfect position to be able to keep him blocked away, but the rest of CAZ has rotated over, and they're trying to get the damage return. Keeks gets low, and that's going to be your first blood. Alexum picks that one up through the wall.
Just a little bit too aggressive there for Keegsmade, and a really good stinger by Atonement brings the necessary damage that allows Alexum to finish off that first blood. That's as good of a start as you can ask for CAZ Esports to put down Keegsmade early on, get his purification beads, get his ult, and now if CAZ can capitalize, if that Susanoo can head on over to that side of the map and gank him again, that's going to put them in a really good spot.
Now looking, unfortunately, you're seeing the difference between the slow and the root
Nice
is right
play.
now Jumpa just jumps over the wall and shows the same thing we've seen in a lot of these Serket highlights for him. He knows where to be.
The double madness there was really, really nice from Jumpa, and he picks up the kill there and continues to put Hotaru a little bit farther behind of where he is, already down a level in experience, now 2 levels in total, probably about a level and a half in reality. But it's level 7 to level 5 is a big difference in power because those first few points are so important. Getting that first damage skill maxed out, whether it's the Storm Kata on the Susanoo or the Deathbane on Serket, I mean, Jumpa's just going to be doing way more damage than Hotaru will at this point in the game.
Keeping control right now. Myth, actually, even though they lost first blood, still have the gold lead. It's not going to be a huge swing in their favor, but just showing that they're farming their presence and where they're going for all these buffs, and the splits are doing well.
And the most important thing for me is that CAZ and the rest of, basically all of Europe, Enix included, talking to them during their interviews, they all said that they're very confident when they make it to the late game. But getting there is the problem, and Alexum's got to be worried about getting there as well as he gets his purification beads forced out. Might be enough damage with the Stellar Burst, and it is Jumpa going to be able to get his second kill, but Hotaru's here.
He's going to be trying to fight as best he can, but Terra left alone. They're looking for the retreat. They use the Typhoon at the end just to ensure the disengage. And that just kind of shows the presence and the strength that Myth have. They are going out and just spreading that aura.
Well, they need to, because as I was about to say, CAZ and Enix both feel very confident come late game, but early game is where they're a little bit weaker.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the length of the sets in the European SCL. Most of them were very long, as I'm sure you remember, Gore.
Very, very.
And so these teams need to get there to where they're comfortable. And a lot of North American teams are all about pressure, all about getting the lead early on. And if Myth can't do that and CAZ does get to late game, then they might be more comfortable there. So it's important for Myth to get off to a good start. They've done so far, especially in the jungle for Jumpa.
Especially going up against someone who wasn't originally going to be here. As you can see, Susanoo going to be taken down almost as he does dash away. Jumpa now in a rough spot between 3, gets taken down 2-2, but into the backline immediately inbound, showing the impact he can have on the Fafnir. Goes up into the Draconic form, and they're looking for Mr. Turtle.
He's got his dash available, but a nice stun over that wall. Mr. Turtle's in trouble. The shell won't save him. Crimson gets credit, but it was inbound who set him up.
And Bradley using the sprint there, too, at the very end to get that disengage. Wasn't able to find it now. 4-2 as Myth just slowly trying to accrue those kills. But like you said, the early game is where they're looking for that pressure. So far, we mentioned Keegsmade a lot early. We mentioned him during picks and bans. Haven't seen him do a whole ton yet. But that's kind of been the way Myth have played. He sits, he farms, he gets big, and then when he rotates over, you're like, where has he been this entire game? And he's just killing you.
Exactly. If there's a time where you want your Hunter to not really be the focus, it's in the early game. I mean, Keegs is fine not having that early start, especially against a god like Amuz and Cobb, who's going to be able to dominate in the early game because his poke is so good, his clear is so good. He's got some health regen with the Hive, so even your poke on Hachiman, which is very potent, isn't quite as effective in that matchup. Atonement's done a great job so far. It was one opportunity for Keegs to go aggressive, and CAZ really punished him for it. So now I expect Keegs to play a little bit more passive until his team can kind of hand him a lead, get a Gold Fury opportunity off a pick from Jumpa, because he's really been starting it all off for Myth so far.
As of now, they're grouping up, looking potentially for these oracles as they go through. Jumpa going to blink forward, and he's going to be trying to get the damage onto Alexum. He's going to throw him away into the team. They're going to clean that one up, no problem. Spread the poison just a little bit to get some damage down onto Bradley, but they're not looking for any extra kills. They're looking for the farm.
And that's just good recognition by Myth Gaming that the Purification Bead's still down for Alexum. They just now came up within a few seconds. Within 10 seconds, they had that timer ready to go, and Myth clearly looking pretty clean so far.
And that's similar. We have seen a lot of these top teams keep a lot of tracking of those abilities just to make sure, hey, your purification beads are down. We have the timer on that. We know exactly by when we need to kill you. And keeping that heads-up play usually lets you get ahead.
And look at the XP per minute on the left side of your screen. Jumpa up above 500, sitting right around 550. And on the other side, Hotaru at the very bottom, struggling a little bit so far, trying to find that XP and trying to stay close to Jumpa, who's really been all over the map so far for Myth.
And it's really hard. As Susano, you usually think the movement, the mobility kind of matches Circuit. You can keep up pace for pace, but just not able to find the engagement, sitting at 0-2 and 2, has the assists, but hasn't really been able to have the same impact. Jumpa is the initiator right now.
And keep in mind, Hotaru coming in, subbing in for this CAZ roster, as some of their players didn't get their visas. Malloy's the regular jungler, not able to attend. So that's tough to kind of not get a lot of practice with your team. Jungle is a very feel-oriented role where you have to be comfortable with your roster and where you want to be, where they want you to be. It's very difficult to do so. So he's been put in a tough spot, and Myth has done a good job of capitalizing on that so far.
And as we have seen out of Jumpa, it's very intricate to your team being able to get that success early on, being able to find those kills, pick off individual targets or in multiple team fights. If you can hit both of them with the taunt, you come through as a Circuit and have a very large impact and just need the follow-up. And so far, Myth has been able to step up every step of the way there.
Left side of your screen, Jumpa gonna blink in onto Atonement, but a really nice purification beats just in time though. Keegs, so going pretty aggressive using that mounted archery. Gonna put good poke onto Atonement, but quick purification bead saves his life.
A lot of calm and patience really coming down out of there. The Amus and Com never look too worried. Is Delny going to get pushed onto the tower? But at this point, Osiris isn't as worried about the tower damage as he could be early on. Even with the jungler sitting right there, he looks at the level advantage. He's 3 ahead of the jungler, 2 ahead of the solo. So he's not too worried. His mid-camps, Crimson, stunned out, but no one on CAZ is really going in on their advantages.
And I like this early Stone of Gaia for Delny. Now he's very squishy to a rotation from Alexum, and that's what I'd like to see CAZ do. Try and push Alexum to the right side of the map. He's got plenty of damage between a nearly fully stacked Book of Thoth and a penetration boots. The Stone of Gaia start really great because you're not worried about dying in lane to the Kuzenbo. He just doesn't have enough damage to kill you. And so you're getting a cheap 2,000 gold item that gives you a ton of HP, a ton of regen. Delny never feels like he has to back anymore, but he's got no protections anymore. So him backing right now, trying to get that protection item online is pretty critical. Plus, having hit level 13 means that he has access to that second relic, and he's going to be one of the first on the right side of the map in order to get access to that. So Myth can kind of take advantage, try and play aggressive with Delny having the relic advantage.
And Delny looking to be as aggressive as he can going into the jungle right now, looking to try and steal it up. The same can be said for Jumpa, who's getting relatively low. A couple more ticks of damage is all it takes. The Stinger was used, and Atonement picks that up. But the Gold Fury is at 50% health. This is what Myth want, but now they have a lot more to deal with in the process of getting there. Inbound trying his best to be able to block this, but it's just not going to work out. It's going down. Myth are going to be able to confirm that one, and they're still going to be able to walk away with a couple kills.
Crimson's going to get Atonement. Now Bradley RJ's in some trouble, but here comes the rotation in from Alexum and Hotaru. They were able to pick up a kill onto Delny on the right-hand side. Alexum decided he wanted to go and defend speed buff. Doesn't look like they were able to defend it either way, but Crimson's in some trouble in the mid lane. He's going to fall before that Disapparate goes off. Alexum gets credit, just a little bit too greedy there from Crimson, and Myth just looking a little scattered all of a sudden.
And this is kind of what you said was highlighted through all the interviews as well as what the players have been talking about. EU, they stand by their late game. The longer this goes on, the more comfortable they are with the damage they can output, their positioning, their team fights. Early on, Myth need to get it rolling, and right now they have about a 3,000 gold lead, which is a good start, but you have to be able to hold on to it. That Gold Fury definitely helping them out a lot. As you can see, it just dipped right down. You can see those kills picked up by CAZ on the charts, just making a small enough dent and a cutaway.
And Jumpa just going a little bit too deep for my liking in the zoning idea there. Now he's going to throw Mr. Turtle underneath that tower, only going to take 1 tower shot for it. Going to look for that auto attack to combust those poisons, but just can't get in range, so Mr. Turtle is going to be able to get away.
Just walking on now. Kuzenbo, not worried about it.
Kuzenbo,
He has a shell. He's happy, and he's going to be able to just run away. And now it actually looks like we're going to see Susano come over and look for some aggression. Just the presence of him being there, even only a level 11 right now, he's caught up to Jumpa, so he's been able to kind of equalize the gap between them, and now he's a little bit scarier to Myth.
Without a doubt, and he's got that Heartseeker now as well. Movement speed, power, penetration, and that's all just before the passive comes into play, which is one of Heartseeker's greatest assets, is applying your physical power as extra damage onto the next ability after you get 5 stacks. Such a potent item to really get effective poke onto the enemy. And now Crimson, now Jumpa, they have to be very worried about how much damage output that Susano is going to have.
Delny being the main target of a lot of this poke, the Thorn's going to help kind of alleviate some of that pressure. He's level 14 right now, so he's not too worried about the aggression. But once again, getting pushed back into the tower, being under control. The ult's going to come through from both players there, and Delny's ticking low, but he's not going to get taken down.
But that's 3 ultimates, because Bradley RJ even committed that Terrace Blessing. That's definitely a win just for Delny's ult and his Thorns. Love this Gladiator Shield pickup that he went for as well. Gladiator Shield works beautifully with Stone of Gaia because you're giving yourself a bigger health pool, and of course Glad Shield heals you for a percentage of your max health. So those 2 items work together very, very well, and now Delny has a little bit of protection. Still not a lot, and I still think that Alexum with the rotation could make a big impact on that right side of the map, but until Alexum comes over, he's not too worried about the damage that Susano or Kuzenbo is going to do to him.
And coming through, we saw Myth kind of tempting fates with the Portal Demon there, but they aren't going to push it too far. Still 14 minutes, 6-5, and Jumpa again going in deep, trying to get the kill onto the Susano, and he's going to go for the ult and throw him into the wall, trying to get that extra pressure, but he's taking too much in return. Kuzenbo comes around and picks up the kill for the solo laner, tying it up 6-6.
Jumpa had beads that whole time and just didn't use them. Jumpa got off to a great start in this game and has really just made some bad decisions now that have really allowed CAZ to get back into this game a little bit. If Jumpa's able to keep pushing his lead, continue to play aggressive, I mean, there's no way that a Serket that was up 2 levels basically, and a Osiris that's up a level over a Kuzenbo on the right side of the map should be giving up buffs there. That should be Invade City on the right-hand side. That should be Myth's jungle to control, and they just haven't done a good job of it so far.
And now you're starting to see Mr. Turtle and Hotaru come in and push themselves up to the point where they're on level or getting closer to the gap. Delny still has that lead, but it's slowly getting ticked away because of the fact that they've been able to capitalize on Jumpa's position so much right now. And as it stands right now, Delny all on his lonesome, still level 15, still hitting very hard, but in a 1v2, it's difficult.
Oh, Delny off the mark with the ultimate. That Lord of the Afterlife could have been a kill there for Myth Gaming in a 2v1, but just a little bit off the mark, but it still opens this door for the invade.
Going in deep once again is going to be Jumpa up against the wall. The beads come through. He's hoping that last breath is going to be able to get the kill, but with the shell coming through, we can see Hotaru is still alive, still retreating, and he's going to be able to make it back to base. It's the blink and the ult once again offline.
And again, CAZ has the number advantage on the right-hand side, and they get to secure their buff. That's an opportunity to get a buff for free for Myth Gaming if Crimson's on the same page. I mean, you've got a jungler who's forced out. You've still got the level lead with Delny, who's going to be fighting a lot better than Mr. Turtle will be at this point. That should be a buff invade for Myth and another missed opportunity for them.
And there's a ton of pressure on the right-hand side coming down from Myth, where hasn't really been rewarded for much. Gold Fury is about to respawn, and I feel like the pressure is going to shift over once again. But Jumpa, like you said, he's kind of lost the lead. He's not really doing as much as he was earlier on. And even now we're seeing as Delny isn't able to hold up in his lane as well as he was early on, just because the pressure coming out from Hotaru, from Mr. Turtle, are keeping it put down to make sure that Osiris, even though he's level 15, is being held onto.
Jumpa heads on over. Jungler's spending a lot of time in the solo lanes, and while it makes sense for Jumpa because of how far ahead Delny is, I think I'd like to see Hotaru come more towards the mid lane. Alexa's sitting in a really good spot up against Crimson in this lane. Try and take some farm there. Allow Mr. Turtle to get closer to that late game. Ooh, close.
Still looking for the kills. Still trying to get as deep as possible. Jumpa looking to get any advantage over here to bring Delny back into it, but he just hasn't been able to find that.
Now, left-hand side, Keegs and Atonement have gone for 2 different builds. Keeg goes for the Titan's Bane Rush right after the Devourer's Gauntlets, but Atonement goes for the Chin Size. Now, Atonement is not going to be doing a lot more damage with the auto attacks because that Chin Size passive, he's got no, it's affected by protections, and he's got no penetration so far in the build. If he's going to go for an attack speed item there, I think I prefer him going for Executioner, but Keegs made going for Titan's Bane immediately into Aussie gives him that boost of attack speed that he lost by going Titan's Bane instead of something like Executioner or Chin Size by getting a cheap power spike item right there. Plus, it's great to get double lifesteal up against the Kuzenbo, who's going to have the Thorns and have the Spike Shell. Really like this build coming out from CAZ, and I will love this build for Atonement as soon as he finishes off an Executioner or some more penetration in this build. But until then, it's going to be a little bit lackluster.
And keeping yourself alive for CAZ, that is pretty much #1, as we've mentioned. He's going to be the one that can come through and have a relatively large impact for the team. Haven't been seeing his name much, except for that death earlier. And when it comes down to it, he hasn't been rotating in. We don't expect to see that, although 17 to 17 right now, these ADCs are definitely going to be hitting a lot harder once they do make that rotation.
And as you mentioned, I mean, this sort of slower game pace favors CAZ Esports. They've got a good late game composition with the double Guardian. Terra can be difficult to deal with in the late game with how potent that Terra's Blessing becomes. And they've got plenty of damage, especially from a distance with Alexum, whereas Myth has to be pretty close to you to deal that damage.
Atonement looking to get focused down, but Beads and Aegis going to be used to keep him alive there, but that just spells Myth Gaming wanting to rotate over, especially with the Gold Fury up this left-hand side of the map. It's got a lot more appetizing for anyone who's really hungry.
Jumpa lurking. There's the blink, and the ultimate was ready. Atonement, no relics and no life. CAZ gonna put himself on the board.
Right now, Alexum over the wall, going to try to get away. Delny's chasing him down, and finally we're seeing the slow come through. Aegis is going to be good, but it's in a 1v1 until Hotaru comes over, and he still looks like he wants to fight.
I like that idea from Alexum. Push away Delny, but this whole time, Myth is getting the Gold Fury. Mr. Turtle tried to steal it, but a good secure by Crimson. Make sure that Myth end up on top. Delny's still going.
Right now, just doing the most he can. Coming up around Mr. Turtle, might be able to catch him out. The rest of the team rotating over. Portal Demon immediately is the call. Delny just pushed back so many members. Got them at least low enough that Myth, Gold Fury, Portal Demon, easy objectives for them to pick up. They're going to get that big swing over in their favor. Now a 5K gold lead, and they're still looking for more pressure. Delny's not done.
And that's that AoE team attack speed buff between the Fafnir and the Hachiman with a Soul and a Hachiman. I mean, that's so much damage on objectives. That Gold Fury didn't take long to go down. That Portal Demon was gone in the blink of an eye. And that's why this composition works so well for Myth. As soon as they get an opportunity to pull an objective, they're going to shred it very quickly, which is another reason why this Titan's Bane works so well for CAZ against these objectives.
Mr. Turtle going to get pulled in. A lot of damage being dumped into him. The shell comes through, but it's not going to be enough. He does ult, but ticking down. Jumpa picks up the kill, looking to try and return to form here. And not only is that good for shredding objectives, like you had mentioned earlier, but towers are not going to stand long here for CAZ's Atonement. Barely walking away with his life. CAZ looks like he's looking for that kill, but not sure if he can go for it and try and find it. Actually going to end up falling back just barely.
I am
escaping.
shocked. I am shocked CAZ doesn't use the ult to go underneath that tower. One shot does it. He knows Atonement doesn't have Aegis. That is almost uncharacteristic of CAZ to play that passive.
Crimson getting to about half health, and Bradley going in trying to fight and at least save his team, but Delny going into the backline, helping out with Jumpa, tanking up this tower, getting the damage through. Alexum not going to fall down, and actually Myth are calling the retreat. They're getting too low to try and siege this tier 2.
Really nice ult there from Hotaru. That Typhoon comes through and really stops the aggression onto Alexum, who has had a tough time now that the mid game has hit with Delny, who's really dedicated himself to making Alexum's life difficult.
But we mentioned it earlier. They mentioned it in picks and bans. CAZ doesn't need to be in the fight to have the impact. He's looking for the split push, and he's going to be able to help get some pressure down through mid right now. We're going from what was essentially 6 to 5 towers is now 5 to 4 towers in favor of Myth, as they're just slowly picking those up, and as that goes up, so does the gold.
And this is a good time to reset for Myth, because some of those members haven't backed. CAZ hasn't backed after getting a tower, a Portal Demon, a Gold Fury. Back, get your items ready to go, and now Myth Gaming has an opportunity to siege down towers very, very easily. That's where I'd like to see them put their pressure, is on the left side of the map, in the mid lane, even on the right-hand side. It doesn't really matter which lane they want to go for. If they go for mid or right, it does give them an easier path to the Fire Giant if the fight goes very well for them. But even though they aren't ahead too much, if they just stick around and stand in front of these towers and make CAZ answer a push, if CAZ is slow to respond between the Soul, between the Fafnir, between the Hachiman, these towers are going to go down so fast that CAZ needs to be in position before this push begins if they want to defend it.
See Atonement there in the mid lane, recognizing that inbound is not going to 1v1 him. They're not going to be able to take each other down. So just kind of laughing with each other, hanging out, and the camaraderie between the two teams, recognizing that, yeah, this is game 1, day 1 for the SCL finals, but you can still have some fun.
And I love this Shogun's Kasari for inbound as well. Just another attack speed boost for a team composition that really feeds well off of attack speed.
Inbound. His aggressive positioning looks like the perfect setup for the team, and he's just being a big distraction because right now Soul and KeyzMate are going to be pushing down as Atonement getting pushed around himself. His age is going to be ticking down, at least eating up some of that poison, but he's still going very low. And Keegs coming into the backline, not going to be able to find the ult, but now he's just looking for Alexum, and he gets the stun, so he's going to be able to get the kill.
Ooh, one more auto will do it, but he can't find it. Good play by Hotaru on the backside. He cleaned up Jumpa, but look at Keegs just going in onto all of CAZ Esports.
Right now, hitting every shot that he needs to. Another kill picked up here for the Hunter on Myth, and they got 2 towers on the left-hand side as well. Draconic form. This is looking like a Phoenix.
This Phoenix is gone. I mean, look at how fast this is going to fall. You got an Obsidian Shard on Soul, the Titan's Bane onto the Hachiman. These objectives don't stand a chance.
This went for Myth. Like you said, it's a good reset point. They just turned it on when they went back. They buy the last few items they want. They spend some of that gold they were able to afford. Now they have even more to go spend. They have even more coming up on the map as Gold Fury soon to be up, as well as the Portal Demon. And they're just going to reap the benefits. Buffs galore.
And this is such a good late-game composition when it comes to the objectives. Now, if CAZ Esports can bring down that Fafnir, that does so much to stop what Myth Gaming want to do. The problem is, he's level 15. I mean, you look at Hotaru, he's level 16, Alexum level 16. Atonement's the only one with a big level lead that's going to be able to do significant damage to Inbound, and he feels so comfortable, does Inbound, that he's actually gone for a Pythags piece in that 5th item slot. Because Myth want to stay so grouped, because they want to siege so much, this is an item that's going to give his players some more power, some more lifesteal. Doesn't matter if they're physical or magical, and can be great. If this, overall, this is a little bit risky though, because this is an item that gives him no defense, no health. So he's just relying on those first 4 items. He doesn't have a ton of protection, especially of the physical nature in that build so far. I think an Emperor's Armor would have accomplished a similar thing with sieging towers very quickly, but with a little bit less risk involved.
We were mentioning synergy between Inbound, Keegs, and Crimson, and now there's a Belt of Frenzy in the mix as well to be able to push things up even further. Portal Demon was no issue for the team. Delny once again going in deep. This time caught between 4, and actually ult's going to be dumped into him, but he just jumps away, dodges a lot of the damages, and able to run out of their Myth. In the meantime, pick up the Fire Giant, and they want to turn this around.
And this is what this competition wants to do. Jumba blinks in, finds Hotaru somehow through all of that team fight, and Keegs going to be able to get the kill onto Alexum, set up by Jumpa.
Bradley getting low and looking to be the next target, but we can see Crimson Keegs both holding back. They're recognizing objective over the kills. We're not playing Arena. We're still in Conquest, so they're going to be looking for it. Now extending their gold up 12K as they look for yet another Phoenix here, but we do see CAZ putting up a defense.
CAZ has no ults, though, and a lot of defensive relics down on the side of CAZ. Frenzy still available, and there it goes. Myth is just looking for the Phoenix. They should be able to get it pretty easily, may be able to get some kills as well.
Inbound, a little bit too long. The Phoenix is going to take him down, but Myth takes down the Phoenix in return, so it's going to be a little bit of a revenge kill as they go back. They fall away because they're still a tier 2 in mid. They still have Fire Giant for a hefty 3 more minutes. And at this point, they can put down pressure. And
Delny's going to be able to just create that front line. Keegs willing to tank up this tier 2 because of how fast it's going to fall between himself and the Soul Jumpa in there as well. He also almost has his Titan's Bane online. Love the pickup of the Magi's Blessing. Not a lot of guaranteed CC from CAZ. You see Magi's against comps that either don't have a lot of hard CC or unreliable hard CC, or teams that have a lot of it. Magi's against teams with a lot of CC is great because then you have an extra use of purification beads, basically. This allows Jumpa to hold beads for a very long time because it's a good chance that he's not going to lose that Magi's Blessing bubble until significantly later in the fight.
Another Gold Fury and even more gold for Myth as they go through. We do have a ton of items being built up. 17,000 being picked up on their side, and that's like 27 minutes. They have definitely put their foot on the pedal, and they're trying to close this down. No towers remaining for CAZ. 2 Phoenixes down, and with still Fire Giant for another 2 minutes, Myth have the distinct advantage.
And here's what Europe has to adjust to, is that in their games, a lot of them go long, and a lot of them are very comfortable in the late game, and that will be undoubtedly valuable to them during this tournament. But a game does not go 70 minutes without mistakes from the team that's in the lead, and not just a couple mistakes, like a lot of mistakes. North American teams aren't going to make nearly as many mistakes, so you need to be able to capitalize when they do, and you need to be able to force the enemy team into bad spots. You can't afford to give up a huge lead to a North American team like Myth Gaming and expect them to mess it up and give you the lead back. It's just not going to happen.
And we have seen a few times from CAZ where they have been able to turn it around thanks to their ultimates. Now all 5 online. This Phoenix is weak, so they're not going to choose to fight under it, but coming into the next defense, they have Alexum, they have Atonement, a ton of damage can come through, and it's looking like it's not going to matter too much as Hotaru is getting soloed down. Delny chasing him. One more hit is all you need, and he takes out the jungler.
Mid Phoenix down to half HP already as well. Good job trying to zone away by Mr. Turtle, but he's just going to get turned on. Crimson going to pick up his 3rd kill. And Delny, meanwhile, is all the way in the Titan room.
He likes to hang out in there as he goes forward. The 3rd Phoenix going to fall down, looking for game number 1. Myth are standing at the door, looking to take the Titan down. A double kill for Keeks, a triple kill for Keeks to close it out. A full deicide, and that's going to be the Titan.